All right, hello everyone. This is Paul Ragusa with Security Systems News. Welcome to our Leadership Talks webcast series. I am very excited to have today's guest. It's Steve Reinharz. He's the CEO of Robotics Assistance Devices. How are you, Steve?
Good, Paul. Good morning. Good morning.
Yes, thanks for joining us. And before we jump into the questions, can you just kind of give us a quick summary of the company, and then we'll move on from there?
For sure. Yeah, thanks, Paul. My name is Steve Reinharz. I'm founder and president of Robotic Assistance Devices, and started the company about 2 years ago with the goal of at a highest level, I would say, commercializing different artificial intelligence applications. And since I come from the security industry, the first market that we're tackling as a company is security.
Okay, great. And that obviously a good place to start would be robotics and security. Can we start? Can you give us where are we now with the introduction of robotics and security applications, Steve? Can you kind of give us that baseline of where we are right now?
Yeah, sure. I think that we're on the verge of what I call 1.0. So, there's a few competitors in the market right now, just, a handful, a couple have recently dropped out. So from a manufacturer side, it's very, very thin. And looking at what everybody has to offer, it still doesn't feel like it's mass market enough. So that's why I call that at this moment we're pre 1.0, and then my expectation is that this year a 1.0 device will come out, and by that I mean that it will be easily recognized as the right solution and globally accepted. There's a saying that I heard from one of my colleagues, and he said a robot is a robot until we call it a washing machine, right? So it's kind of a clever way to say that as we're inventing things and creating things, we would call that, maybe the clothes washing robot. And then as soon as it works, or works well enough, or it needs to be branded, we call it a washing machine. So I think right now we're still calling everything robots, but I expect this year that we will have, more formal brand names or a different name emerge than just security robot.
Yeah, that's a good analogy. And where is the technology? I know you said 1.0. And where is the technology with regards to usage, would you say?
It moves so fast. So what we've done is we've learned a lot as to how users want to use this type of technology. So we feel that the user element of using security robots and intelligent towers has evolved to the point where we're comfortable saying that we're 1.0 plus. There are still technical elements of the robot itself that need to be improved in order to bring, 96% plus reliability to the market. And I haven't seen that from anybody yet. So I have seen some tremendous technical innovations from the ecosystem that supports the robotics community. So that's why I can say with some confidence that I expect that 1.0 device to come out this year. But there's certainly improvements on the technical side that need to be implemented this year.
Okay, good. And one question, I know you probably get asked this so many times, but it's evolving as we speak. But what applications are best suited to this kind of technology? I mean, maybe you could start with your early adopters and go on from some others that could benefit as well.
Yeah, sure. It comes down to the fundamental question of our industry, and by our industry I mean both the physical guarding and the physical security sides, the electronic sides. And the question that we need to continuously answer is, how best do we provide security to our customers? And over the years, both of those industries have evolved, and now both of them are presented with a new opportunity to evolve further, and that is with the use of these intelligent towers or intelligent robots. And the question at the heart of the customer's need is, how do I get the most bang for my buck? So if I have a perimeter to manage or an interior space to observe and report on, am I best suited with cameras? Am I best suited with human guards? Am I best suited with an AI-enabled device? I think more and more that answer is going to be, you're best suited with an AI-enabled device. And part of the reason is cost. The cost of an AI-enabled device is significantly less than pretty much any other solution. And what that does is that gives these organizations an opportunity to improve security by either taking the same budget and getting a lot more value for that same budget, or returning some of the savings back to the corporation and strengthening the corporation that way.
Yeah, and that's a great segue for the next topic that I wanted to get into, which is AI. You mentioned that it's obviously a buzzword right now. Many within security are trying to leverage AI, within their products. And can you kind of give us a high-level view of what AI is as it is related to security in your view, Steve?
Yeah, for sure. The definition of AI that I'm using lately is something that I try to put it in terms that's easily understood, because you can Google artificial intelligence and it gives you a very fancy definition, which is fantastic, but it's a little bit more complex than how I would like to present it. I like to present AI as massive computing power, right? So I'll give you an example specific to the security industry. We've all of us that have been in the business for a period of time have set up different types of human detection analytics using what I call legacy or traditional solutions. And this would require a couple hours of setup, and you'd have a human in the frame, and you would go and you would set perspective and da-da-da-da-da, right? Like, it's a very manual, sequential process of setup. And then it's a very, generally speaking, high false positive rate after setup. So why did we have to do it that way? We had to do it that way because we didn't have any other choice. We were limited by the physical chips that we had available to us. So now we have the advent of a fancy name in artificial intelligence, but really behind that, what we have is we have these pure supercomputers on a chip. So whereas I would want to take a full neural network that's been programmed for human detection, and has ingested millions of training frames of data, so it knows what a human looks like. I want to take that, I want to put that on a super low power, small chip. I want to put that into the camera, or I want to put that somewhere to handle that processing. So for security, AI means reliable human detection, object detection, vehicle detection, using massive computing power. And that's the big difference. So that's what I believe AI means to our physical security industry. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's a great way to look at it. The massive computing power is really the heart of it. That's exactly right. And can we get into some specific applications, especially within robotic applications, the tower, the robot itself? Can we talk about how you are applying AI and where you see that potential?
Yeah, we're applying AI right now multitude of different ways. First thing is we're doing human detection, vehicle detection, facial recognition, license plate recognition. All of those are driven by AI powered neural networks. So from a security standpoint, again, being able to have reliable data delivered at an incredible price in the right package is what AI means to us, and it's what AI means to our industry. So other manufacturers on the camera side are also providing these solutions in the context of their product offering. But really, 3 to 5 years from now, a lot of the things that we're talking about, Paul, are going to be just a given as part of everybody's security posture. We are recording all the license plates. We are creating BOLOs, or be on the lookout alerts, to help improve our facility security and staff safety. So I'm sorry, Paul, I got lost on that one.
Oh, no, that's fine. Yeah, so the AI and how we could leverage that, especially within the devices.
Yeah, so again, back to those four features, the LPR, license plate recognition, facial recognition, human detection, and general object detection. Those, those are things that we can't do really effectively with any other type of technology unless it is AI powered. So that's the biggest manifestation of AI in the security industry in terms of the mass market. Now, there's certainly fringe elements, I don't want to call them fringe elements of the market, but niche elements of the market that will use AI for data analysis, specifically metadata analysis that's captured. It's not something that I'm an expert in at all, but I expect that there's companies that are going to emerge to help sort the data, process the data, and make it useful to different companies.
Right, and I would think there's some good potential there, especially in guarding and security to, maybe mine that data to be a little more preventive and predictive in security. Do you see us getting to that point where we could start to anticipate things based on anomalies, or so to speak? Do you see that potential there?
I do, and we have an announcement that we're going to make in the next month or two from a organization that the slogan is predict, preempt, and prevent. So because of these technologies, we as a security industry have historically been reactive and forensic. And I believe that, with AI powering these solutions, we can actually be preventative and predictive. So for example, let's say somebody shows up at a coffee shop, and both times they showed up at two different coffee shops, something bad happened, right? So if I knew kind of who that was, I could have a reasonable cause to maybe predict and maybe preempt something bad happening at a third coffee shop if that person were to show up. So those are the kinds of technologies that we're going to be talking about more this year as well, from RAD and most likely from others as well. For me, that's what's most important, right? Like how do we keep the incident at the perimeter? How do we prevent it? Those are really the questions that the security industry is supposed to answer, but we haven't had the technology to do so.
Yeah, you're right, and that's a really an exciting area that it's going to be very cool to see where we go and how security is able to leverage all. You're exactly right, and we kind of alluded to the guarding side of things, and obviously the guarding industry's changed over the last few years, and they're showing more interest in robotics and integrating technology into their typical man guarding strategy. Can we talk a little bit about guarding? What are you seeing? What kind of feedback have you received from guarding in terms of the direction that they're heading and their leveraging of robotics?
So fascinating, so fascinating on so many different levels, on the business side, the sociological side. We have a massive $20+ billion physical guarding industry in the United States. It's massive and employs 1 million people. And it has been for the last 25 years one of the typical stories of a mature industry, growing slowly, and has now been going through 10 or 15 years of consolidation, of heavy consolidation, and roll up into a couple amazing mega companies and then lots of smaller companies. So we have this kind of mature market, and then you have an upstart technology coming in, being security, robotics, and intelligent towers coming in and being able to perform a lot of the duties that would have typically been only performed by a human. So you have a disruptive, challenging technology to an established industry, a very healthy established industry. And the fascinating part here is that in order for these guarding companies to take advantage of this new technology, there's an element of self-cannibalization required. You know, if you're switching humans for lower cost solutions to maintain a relationship with your customer, or even improve a relationship with your customer because you're offering them so much more at a lesser price, it's sometimes hard to swallow that, hey, my top line is going to go down, my bottom line, you know, may stay the same or go up a little bit, but it's a changing dynamic. So I think I see that as a challenge in some cases, and in some cases I see some really great and strong leaders adopting this technology and understanding where the future is, and understanding that they need to transform with the technology if they don't want to get left behind. And then I also see a few folks saying, this is how we've been doing it, and this is how we're going to keep on doing it. And so I see those guys too. And this kind of reminds me, Paul, you may remember, we kind of call it the digital revolution 15, 20 years ago in physical security, when we started moving to DVRs from tape-based recording, and all of a sudden security integrators needed to learn, IT language and what an IP address was, and all these different things that were completely foreign to security integrators. And there were those who jumped in and adopted it, and worked hard to get a Linnell dealership and expand with companies like that. And then there were the other companies that were like, nah, I can't see someone paying for that. We're just going to do it the way we're doing it. And now we can look back in the history books and say, hey, how are the guys that teamed up with Linnell, and how are the guys that hung on to being an analog video provider? I see the same thing happening in this industry. I think it's going to happen, differently, of course. I think that the big companies have a tremendous advantage in two ways. I think that number one, they have such a breadth of customers that they can establish themselves as technology leaders should they wish. And I certainly see a couple of them moving in that direction. And at the same time, I see upstart companies that are just focusing on unmanned security solutions and implementation. And I see those guys as being ripe for eventual buyout by the big guys. So definitely see a strong set of winners that are going to emerge from this transformation over the next 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, and Steve, as you pointed out before in several sessions that I've been able to either be on with you or just be in attendance for, robotics really are, a force multiplier for these guarding companies, and they could do jobs that, are maybe dangerous for, typical guards, or, will make, they could do maybe the job of, that will not put them in danger, so to speak. So, yeah, I think the early adopters are already seeing that, and then also seeing applications beyond that. So that's great. And you mentioned integrators. Can we talk a little bit about changes there? Where are we in the integrator world with regards to the implementation of and usage of robotics and automation and security? Are you seeing an evolution there yet?
The integrator side of the business worries me a little bit. It's another business that we've seen more consolidation and some private equity sales recently. Integrators are really, a specialized contractor. You would have electrical contractor, you would have a low voltage systems integrator, which is most of the security integrators are. But really, you strip it down, they're contractors that do some service work. There, again, are integrators that have been very progressive with us and have been amazing partners and want to get in and want the recurring monthly revenue and want the stickiness with their customers through our solutions. So we have those guys. And then we have guys, again, like the analog contractor 20 years ago, who are like, I don't know what it is. I'm not going to bother learning. I'm going to keep doing the way I'm going to do. So I see it evolving that way, but I definitely see the strength of introduction of our solutions, and by our, I mean our industry, our robotic industry solutions, through the guarding companies versus through the integrators, although there will be some exceptional integrators that will jump on board.
Okay, great. Well, thanks for that perspective on that. I was curious. All right, so Steve, the 20 minutes went by very fast. Thank you for taking some time to give us some insight into this really interesting area in security that I just know is going to, really embrace this over the next couple of years. So thank you, and thank you, everyone. Look forward to doing this next week, same time. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, Paul, and Security System News. Thank you guys very much. Talk to you soon.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Did I do that right?
Is that